Good day, everyone. I'm Jan Saiden D. Medina from BSc 4-2, and today I will going to present the assigned topic to me, which is the history of malware, the early years. So before I start, let me share first one Bible verse. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 11. He has made everything beautiful in its time. So here are the objectives. So first, history of malware. Second, connection of the malware to cybercrime. Third, contributions of the malware to cybercrime. Fourth, impact on cybercrime. And lastly, the significant early versions of malware. So first, in 1971, Bob Thomas at PVN Technologies created the Creeper program as an experiment to explore the concept of self-replicating code within ARPANET, the precursor to the modern internet. Creeper showed the message, I'm the Creeper, catch me if you can, when it was turned on a computer owned by the Digital Equipment Corporation and would then move onto another network system. Despite being self-replicating, Creeper did no harm and did not erase any data. Its main objective was to demonstrate the potential of a program that could independently switch between linked systems. Later, an early version of antivirus software called Reaper was created to combat Creeper. It was the first known antivirus program created to find and eliminate Creeper from compromised PCs. So next, in 1974, one of the earliest examples of malware is the Wabbit virus, or other term is the Rabbit. First appeared in 1974 and popularized the data of fork bombs, or self-replicating programs, originally developed as an experiment. This early malware repeatedly replicated itself on a computer, collecting up system resources until the system crashed. Unlike modern viruses that spread between systems, Wildbit infected only the machine it ran on, acting as a proof of concept for how software application could impact system performance. So next, in 1982, one of the first wild viruses in computer history is the Elf-Cloner virus, by high school student, invented by a high school student, Rich Skrenta, and spread outside of a controlled environment. Elf-Cloner was created by Skrenta as a harmless trick for Apple II computers. It would spread as users exchange between computers by copying itself onto floppy disks. After a computer was infected, it would periodically show a poem on the screen, which added a light-hearted element that made users amused and aware. So next, in 1986, Pakistani brothers Basit and Amhad Farooq Alfi created the Brain Boot Sector virus, which was designed to discourage software piracy rather than inflict harm on people. Customers illegally spreading their medical software irritated the brothers, who ran a computer business in Lahore. They encountered this by programming the brain virus to infect a floppy disk boot sector and include a secret message telling users to get in touch with them if they detected infection. So another virus in 1986 was known as the Trojan virus. Virus is the PC-Lite Trojan. This malware initially appeared in the mid-1980s and pretended to be an updated for the genuine PC-Lite word processing program, portraying as a new version. After it was installed, it deleted all files on the compromised system, severely reducing the victim's data. This early Trojan signaled a change from straightforward, innocuous programs to malicious software intended to purposefully damage or interfere with systems. More sophisticated malware, such as the Ace Trojan in 1989, which encrypted files and required a ransom to unlock them, was made possible by Trojans like TCLite. So in 1988, the first worm to spread widely over the early internet was the Morris worm, which was created by Robert Tapan Morris. The worm, which was released on November 2, 1988, was designed to gauge the size of the internet, but because of a design error, it duplicated aggressively, causing network failures and slowdowns. The worm spread independently across networks by taking advantage of well-known flaws in Unix systems and via a self-propagation technique. So about 6,000 machines were infected by the worm, which resulted in major disruptions and costs estimated between $100,000 and $10 million. So in 1991, the Michelangelo virus, a well-known early computer virus, was identified, and it caused large amounts of data loss on March 6 of every year, which is also the birthday of the artist Michelangelo. On compromised systems, the boot sector malware was dormant until this particular date when it became active. The virus would overwrite important data sectors if a system was started on March 6. Most users would lose their data permanently. Infected floppy disks, an early and popular method of malware transmission, were the main way of the infection spread. Because of the media's exaggeration of the Michelangelo virus and the warnings of antivirus pioneer John McAfee about the potential technodoom catastrophe, the virus became a cultural phenomenon. Even though there were many fewer infections than expected, this caused widespread concern and an upsurge in the use of antivirus software. Only 10,000 to 20,000 occurrences of data loss were reported worldwide by 1992, which is significantly less than, than less than the initial projections of millions. So in 1999, the Melissa virus was one of the most rapidly spreading viruses in history when it was first released on March 26, 1999. It was a pioneering piece of malware that spread quickly over email. The virus sent itself as an attachment in emails that seemed to be from reliable contacts by making use of Microsoft Word's macro features. With subject lines, the important message from username, it usually tricked recipients into opening the malicious file. When the virus was active, it would spread to the first 50 addresses in the recipient's Outlook contact book, potentially infecting the thousands of people. It had a huge effect, costing numerous firms an estimated $80 million in losses as a result of misproduction and system outage. Next, we will go to the connection of the history of malware to cybercrime. So malware's history from 1971 to 1999 represent an enormous change in the nature of cybercrime, moving from straightforward practical pranks to intricate and destructive cyber attacks. So malware such as the Griefer virus in 1971 was initially used as an experiment tool to show that self-replicating code could be used maliciously in the future. The advent of viruses such as the Morris worm by the late 1980s and early 1990s demonstrated how even inadvertent releases may result in significant disruptions, impacting thousands of computers and exposing weaknesses in early networks. So next, contribution of history of malware to cybercrime. So the creation of cybersecurity policies and antivirus software resulted from the pervasive effects of malware, which compelled governments and enterprises to see cybersecurity as a crucial component of digital infrastructure. Additionally, when the legal implications of cybercrime become more apparent, government passed legislation specifically targeting cybercriminals, as seen by the conviction of Melissa virus developer David L. Smith. By the late 1990s, it was clear that malware was a serious issue that might destroy trust in digital communication and business, rather than just being a technical annoyance. So next, impact of the history of malware on cybercrime. So the development of cybercrime has been significantly impacted by the history of malware, making it a significant worldwide issue. Early malware, such as the Creeper and Morris worms, exposed computer system flaws, opening up the opportunity for more complex attacks that took advantage of these flows to earn money. The late 1990s saw the emergence of mass mailing viruses like Melissa, which highlighted the need for strong cybersecurity measures and awareness by demonstrating how swiftly and extensively malware might spread. Next, significant early version of malware. So, cybercrime was significantly shaped by the early malware, which established standards for malicious conduct that persist to this day. Viruses such as the Creeper and Brain virus first illustrated the idea of self-replication, prompting conversations about digital security. So these early programs demonstrated the ease with which systems might be infiltrated, highlighting the necessity of a network security procedures and antivirus software. Early malware's development forced organizations to implement cybersecurity safeguards, which in turn led to the development of the antivirus sector and the creation of legislative frameworks to prevent cybercrime. Additionally, malware not only shown the potential for harm, but also cleared the path for the complex cybercrime environment that exists today. So this is the report, and this is my report. So before I end this report, let me share first one motivation from Sean Patrick Flannery. So do something today that your future self will thank you for. So thank you. Pre, ano, stop na.